We think that ties into throttle therapy, so we added some pieces to it here and there that are kind of not typical. We wanted it to have some knobby tires so they could go off-road. The handlebar pad's kind of a dirt bike style thing, and it'll have the little mustache logo. I think that'll be cool. The motor is a single cylinder. They call them thumpers because if you stand behind it, it kind of hits you in the chest. For people who know motorcycles, they can see things on it that are really special, like the single-sided swing arm. It's like a typical Frankenstein bike for us. We just want to make sure that whoever gets it can have fun on it, not just look at it. You know? I think it'll be a hit.
Ladies and gentlemen, gather around for a unique look into the world of custom motorcycling. We've gathered some of the industry's top builders and fabricators on this stage to show you their skills live and in person. Watch as they chop, grind, and weld their creations into existence right before your very eyes. Feel free to ask questions at any time directly to your host, Pat Jansen. The doors to the shop are open, so pull up a stool, kick back, and welcome to the Grease and Gears Garage.
And clap. Good job, good job. Hey, if you're here to see the Boom audio installation, you're screwed. No. We got some parts that are dragging for our presenters, so they're off wringing their hands someplace else.
You know, actually, the traffic is so busy getting into the show today. The guys from Harley-Davidson, I feel bad for them. They've been in line for 45 minutes.
Oh, so
just trying to get into the parking lot. So
they're trying to get here. So even if that's not true, that is a great story. So, I mean, that's the one we're going with. But anyway, never to be let down because this is Grease and Gears Garage. So what we do is we're just mechanics, and we travel around the country with our tools, and we set them up on stages, and we invite people to see what it's like to spend a day, a little time, an hour in a shop when we're hanging out building stuff. And so on this stage, you'll see people will install, an audio system in this. We've made tanks from scratch, fenders from scratch. We've narrowed tanks. We've built frames. We do all kinds of same stuff we do in our shops. But on TV, when they're doing it, you never really get to see the whole process. You don't really learn anything, All you learn is there's a lot of dysfunctional damn people out there that argue a lot.
Kind of the same thing you're going to learn here.
That's right. Shut up, Chris! God! But anyway, so Grease and Gears Garage, we're Facebook Live in this. If there's something particularly that you see here and you're live with us in the audience, you can go to Facebook. It'll be on there forever. But if you're on Facebook Live, thanks for being with us. Before we get to the audio part, though, Chris and RJ are going to do a little work on a War Pony. Chris, where are we headed?
Well, this is, for you guys that have been following along, this is our War Pony project. We started at the beginning of this tour in Long Beach with basically just an empty frame from Paco. This is where we're at. The design is by the end of February, the last show of IMS this year in Washington, D.C., we're going to ride that bike off the stage. So a lot of stuff to do. So when these little mishaps happen and we have an extra 20 minutes of time, I don't mind that so much because we can jump onto this project.
And this is exactly what happens in one of our shops. All of a sudden parts don't show up for customer bikes and stuff. You know what we do? We get to work on our own stuff. All of a sudden it's, now we can actually work on this project. So that's what's happening.
The shop never closes just because your parts are late. So what we're going to do today while we're waiting for the Harley guys to get here, we're going to pull this tank off. And one of the things we like to do with custom motorcycles is we like to get a body line here out of round stock. We're actually going to take the tank off, put it up on the table here, and we're going to start working this round stock around to get us a nice molding line around the outside of this tank. You see them duplicate that same thing. Most Harleys have a paint job from, over the years where they have that teardrop in the middle. We start off with putting a piece of rod on there. We'll get it shaped, tack it on with a TIG welder, and then in a little bit different fashion, this is something we've picked up over the years, we'll actually come back in with silica bronze and the TIG, and we'll fill that seam in behind that rod. Now, a lot of guys, they'll put that TIG in real heavy and then they'll throw putty into that. Well, over time, putty has its faults. Silica bronze is metal. Even though it's softer than the parent metal that you're going to be putting it up against, it's still metal. So once you get that, you can get in there real nice and easy with a sander, with a file, pull that stuff out, and it stays forever. So we're going to start by cutting up some sections of rod here. We have a few different things. A lot of people make a big deal about having dies and forms and stuff to
right here.
bend metal, but you can literally do it with anything. We knew we were coming up on stage here about 5 minutes ago, so we came up real quick and said, okay, those two radiuses look like about the size that we need for on the side of that tank for our two pieces. So these are the dies that we're going to use to bend our rod. That was a lot of talking real fast.
You did good. You're getting like me.
I'm kind of lightheaded from that.
Chris was on my podcast a few months ago, and I do my intro, and then I do update on my garage, Sin Central Garage.
1717.
And then I do the sponsor stuff, and then I introduce my guest, and Chris was my guest.
1717.
And he got on there, and he didn't say anything, and he said, do you take a breath any place in the middle of that? So he's getting good at that, though. Again,
52.
Grease and Gears Garage is kind of a thing we've been doing at rallies now for 2 years. Been fortunate enough to be invited by the Progressive International Motorcycle Show to be on the Progressive stage and do this. As we told you, you can go back. This is becoming, and we're going to go back, and Chris is already working on it, editing the clips of this, because not only are we Facebook Live in all these, but they're recorded forever, and so we're going to go back and edit them. So this is going to become a really good resource for you if you just want to look to see how to do some custom stuff.
Yeah.
We'll eventually figure out how to index it and all that stuff. But it's been a fascinating project in terms of being also to have a lot of builders around the country that have participated in building War Pony. Chris will eventually, I'll get him to tell you the story of how War Pony why this bike is called War Pony.
Well, so Cycle Source Magazine, which I do on my day gig, we've been publishing that for 21 years, and about 12 years ago when it got to the national newsstand, I could afford to go everywhere I needed to in the country on a motorcycle, but that was about it. So I would constantly pile up my 2003 Ultra with 9 cases of magazine, all the camera gear I could carry, in a tent. And that magazine the motorcycle built that magazine. So over about 240,000 miles on that bike, I became very, very fond of that motorcycle. All the way up to and including the first year of a race they called Hokahay, I ran Hokahay on that bike. And that was a race from Key West, Florida, back and forth across the country, all the way through 3 provinces of Canada and down into Alaska. I did that 9,500 miles in 12 days, which was the coolest ride of my life. Unfortunately, the winner was 2 days ahead of me, but that was the best I could do. In any event, a friend of mine from the Wall of Death borrowed this bike about 2 years ago, and he totaled it. I'm really lucky that, our friend's still with us. It was a bad wreck. But the bike was, it meant so much to the magazine that we couldn't just send it to the boneyard. So we bought it back from the insurance company.
Pearl.
I know. Bought it back from the insurance company, pushed it in the corner until the day we found that Paco makes this frame now to take a whole touring driveline and put into an FX Star style frame. So this launched the War Pony, and in honor of, it fought battles with me and, rode the Hokahay with me, we're keeping that War Pony theme, because the original bike, the Black Pearl, when I left for the Hokahay, that was put on by the Lakota Sioux. And when I left for that, I actually took the time to take all the original War Pony markings that Crazy Horse did on his War Pony, and I put on that motorcycle. So that's kind of the lineage of it, the long and the short.
That bike became a celebrity on the Hokahay run. People didn't really care about Chris so much, but they couldn't wait to see that motorcycle pull up. The guy that was a race, and the guy that won showed up 2 days before you.
2 days.
2 days. Two whole days. That guy rode from Key West to Alaska faster than Chris did, and Chris was booking it. I don't know how that guy did it.
Here's the thing about it, though. Everybody started out, it was a $500,000 race. $500,000 you got for winning that. So everybody started out wanting to win it. And it was about 2 days into it that I realized...
You just wanted to finish.
I didn't even care. I didn't even care that it was a race anymore. I was seeing parts of the country that I had never seen before. I woke up because you had to sleep by the motorcycle. There was no hotel rooms, no anything. I woke up beside my motorcycle and watched the sunrise at the Grand Canyon, and I lost any and all drive to win any money right there. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take my time for a minute, and I'm going to see this stuff. First time I ever rode through the provinces of Canada. First time I rode into Alaska, the Denali National Forest. If you live your life as a motorcyclist and only get to do one great ride ever, set a course and go through Alaska. Ride your motorcycle through Alaska, because the kind of isolation and like the beauty, and you start to realize how small you are on this planet with how fantastic that view of nature is, man. Do that stuff. Go see the Denali National Forest.
Chris, do they still do that race?
You know what? They still do. They switch it up every year, you know, and it's, I think this year they're actually going back to the original route.
Grease and Gears Garage should sponsor a ride. That would be a cool thing to get a couple hundred people together and just do that ride.
When I think, honestly, like, everybody should do that. If you get a chance to do something to really test yourself and really push yourself, you should absolutely do that. I don't know about doing 9,500 miles in 9 days. Like that, that's a little crazy, but. Go ahead and tell everybody what you're doing, RJ, since I'm just up here running my lips. Go ahead.
Well, anyways, what we're getting here now is we're getting ready to mark our center line so we can actually have this end in the center right here, somewhere in the top, in the center, or if we put it on the bottom. We're going to roll this first roll with this die. It's actually a die from our bender here from Mittler Brothers. You can use anything you find in the shop. A lot of the times we actually use our cylinder that we have on our MIG and our TIG machines. Unfortunately, that cylinder's real small. It's attached to the machine, so we're going to use this. We're going to roll that around, come back, use this smaller die in the vise over here, and then kind of bring the peak together and bring them together somewhere in the center, and then we can start actually shaping it to fit the tank.
So are you going to do a teardrop and bring it to a point?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Yep. Good there? He's going to lock it down.
One of the things about building choppers, and we always want to emphasize this, the biggest reason we do this is to show people you can, I don't care what you're riding, you don't have to be riding a Harley. You know, everybody likes to customize a bike or have the idea. You can do this stuff. I mean, this isn't, rocket math. You can do the things here. Building choppers is just that, though. I mean, it's found stuff that you're taking and using and figuring out how to do it. You know, the guy that taught me how to metal shape when I was growing up in North Carolina, we lived in the middle of nowhere. He was old. My dad, I remember him showing, I was 12 years old. My dad showed up at the shop and he was teaching me how to do lead work. No mask or anything. There we go.
So, just like I said, man, it's pretty simple. We found the radius that we wanted to work with. We wrapped that around. And all we're after here is to get a complementing line that we'll get a nice molding with. So now RJ's got to do some smart work and figure out where our next radius goes.
But my point is, it doesn't always require fancy tools and stuff. It's found items. That old man taught me how to metal shape on found objects within 100 yards of the shop. You know, if it was close to the right shape and we had a piece of metal and a hammer, we beat it. So
let me see. No, too far back. Come up. Up. Right there. Good? Okay, we're going to do this piece back on the vise.
we've got cameras so you can see this on the screens, what they're doing. If anybody at any point during the midst of this has a question, shout it out. Doesn't matter if you're on Facebook Live, send it to us, Facebook Live, and we'll get that answered up to you.
Let's turn around so we're bending that way.
Get this across here so we can make sure that we're staying straight.
I was going to say, let's maybe
like this.
Stick it in the edge here.
Like this.
Maybe if we get like a paddle clamp or something, at least we know that it's not going to bend there, you know?
I'm trying to come down. Well, no, that's not going to work.
No.
Let's clamp that to the table and use them pins again. Yeah, the clamps.
That's a good idea.
That's a great idea, Mark.
Okay.
Mark, it's like you've done this before.
I love it when you guys get along so well. It's
It's
kind of
nice when the children don't fight.
kind of scary.
You know that means it's going to be a blowout. So, yeah.
Yeah, somebody's going to get punched later. Now everybody's getting along.
All right.
Mark played the part of Gimli in Lord of the Rings. He likes me to point that out. Acting work got a little slow, so now he's doing motorcycle stuff again. But
Right to the edge. Or this one, if you bring it in more.
he does like me to point out that was not the Hobbit with the big, fat, hairy feet. They were the dwarves with the big axes. He wants you to know he's got pretty dwarf feet.
We're not bending that way.
He had a mani-pedi yesterday. He's very proud of his feet.
So I can actually put 2 of these in.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
It's this first one, right, RJ?
Yeah.
And that's your outside edge or what?
Hold it up just to double check.
This is how you do math if you're a redneck. This is my kind of math.
This would go.
They're figurating,
The beginning.
mathemologizing.
Wow, that's way too much.
We're using the small one good at the end, don't you think?
Yeah,
If
let's
it's
go.
too long,
I didn't
you always
realize.
cut it
Yeah,
and move it
let's
up.
go to the end. Okay. If you know where that line is, take it around for me. What's that? Okay. All right.
You lost me.
You guys are killing me.
Now, Chris, tell us what you guys are figuring right now.
What would Will call this? Transverse angles?
Oh, you're bending this.
Use
Yeah.
a big word. Nobody will know what it is.
Either one, yeah. Here.
Is that the right line?
All we're trying to do is make sure that we have some stability behind our bend so we don't end up, if you end up trying to bend that tight radius and you leave the outside part of it open, you'll get a little bit of a belly in it. So we're trying to put some posts into our weld table and shore that up so when he starts bringing that around. Good?
Yeah, I started moving already.
Is this the square one?
No.
Well, what?
I feel like this has become a government type project. FDR would be proud. All right, we got 4 grown men. They're all professionals, and we're going to bend a piece of rod.
Fuck.
Do you want to get that little butane?
I think we have it now.
All right.
RJ,
You always want to go a little bit further than what you actually need because the metal's going to spring back.
Aaron Green calls that rebound.
Rebound.
Everybody else does too.
So,
That looks awesome.
not
Big
yet.
paper clip.
But now, you guys can see what it is that we're going after. And we obviously have to get this up here now. We're going to make our marks to where to cut that piece. Help me get that into shape there, RJ. Good. I'll hold this part. You make
This is
the line for the cut.
probably all of our favorite part of chopper building is you find a tank. Chris actually saw that tank at Paco. It was just laying in a pile, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They weren't doing anything with it.
Yeah, it was an experimental tank that they were just doing to try to fit the kind of fuel pump that Sportsters have.
So
They were going to throw it out.
they were going to throw it out. So he took the tank
Big.
and he's
Okay.
using it, and he's going to be able to now customize it, and he ends up getting a one-off tank. So just finding things and then being able to massage them a little bit really also is a simple way to get a really cool custom piece. The other thing is you might not weld, but if you have the idea, you'll be surprised how willing people are that do this kind of work will be to help you, kind of make your idea come to fruition. You do what you can and then turn it over to somebody else when you get to the point where you can't do it.
Okay, while RJ's getting that set up, I'm actually setting a welder up for him so we can try to get some of this done real quick.
You want a clamp?
Tell you what, RJ, while you're doing that,
Give me a little mark.
Wonder if that'll work.
right there.
Yep, that's about good.
Okay, do me a favor, put that up here.
RJ, do you want to try it?
Just loosely, it doesn't matter, like roughly where it's at. I'm just gonna take a line around here. And while you're getting this ready, I'm gonna start cleaning that tank up.
Will this work? Just gonna hold it?
What? There's a thing that says
I just pulled the damn thing out of there.
oh, C-clamp.
No.
Here.
It goes over here.
So I just want to get the paint away to give RJ some clean
I was
surface to
doing
weld
odd
with.
the other day. You go around the back of a fender. I put it in a vise to hold it, and I welded it to my vise.
Rather than tie up.
RJ and I were just talking. I went to do this. I was actually using some rod to do the same thing, but it was around the back of a fender, and I used my vise to hold it, and I welded the rod to my vise. And RJ said, yeah, the other day I welded my pliers to the vise. So, it happens.
Now I'm using these little 3M disc, man. Rather than like go at this with a heavy grinder disc, I don't want to scar everything up. I'm just trying to make clean metal for him to get out with the welder. Plus, we're going to do there's going to be a lot of movement on this metal, and we're going to have enough to do in body work when we get done with it. We don't want to add more for no reason.
So you and Jason basically do the same thing. You're engraving the side of the tank right now.
What's that?
You and Jason both engrave now. You're kind of engraving the tank.
No, I am not an engraver at all.
Hey.
I use a rotary tool like a Dremel, and I do designs, but that's not engraving. Real engraving is an art.
You want to be jealous?
I am jealous.
I got a trophy from Jason. Jason engraved this morning on stage for us. So he gave it to him. Pretty cool.
Okay, now I'm really jealous.
Yeah, whatever. You get tools. I got that.
And I'm kind of suspicious.
No, that's cool, man. Does everybody do it in your shops? I've got shelves full of this kind of stuff. That I sit, man, and I'll just go stand and remember people standing in front of those shelves.
How are we doing with Harley-Davidson? Anybody know?
I haven't seen those cats. That one guy was getting a little salty, though. One guy.
Okay, so That's enough to get RJ started getting that thing tacked on there for now.
With all welding, you want a clean surface. What RJ is going to be doing is TIG welding, tungsten inert gas welding. It differs from MIG welding in that it's a much cleaner kind of weld. You don't get splatter. It really focuses heat in a smaller place. You introduce material to the electrode as opposed to having it wire fed out. The one thing about TIG welding is you want it to be clean, clean, clean. You want everything about your surface to be clean. You even want to go to the point of cleaning your rod with acetone. You just want everything to be super clean because TIG welding doesn't like gaps. It doesn't fill gaps like a MIG welder or a stick welder, and it just doesn't like pollutants getting in there. So anything that does that, it'll just splatter and you won't get penetration. You won't, because with welding, you are actually melting the metals together. You want to make one metal out of all of them, and so you don't want to introduce any contaminants into that. So with TIG welding, that's particularly important. Did I just see Joe and Pat Patterson?
Hey, Pat. When the guys from Lead Sled beat Harley here,
I know. You guys beat Harley-Davidson here. Yeah, they're supposed to be on stage right now, and you beat them. And he hadn't been drinking yet. We pick on Pat because Pat is the true definition of a guy that lives the motorcycle lifestyle. He doesn't have a watch, and he doesn't give a damn what time he shows up. Come on up here, Pat Patterson. Local boy made good, Pat Patterson from Dayton, Ohio. What's up, man? You good? You haven't called me in a while? You don't love me no more? You didn't even take me to Disneyland with your family?
Come on,
You went to Disney World, excuse me, in Florida, sir. How's it going?
It's cold down there as it is up here.
Here.
Yeah, it was as cold down there as it is up here.
Yeah, that was not a good time to really be vacationing in Florida. So.
Made the line shorter though, so I didn't mind.
That's good. So you're going to be up here in just a little bit, like 4:30, and you're going to be showing us how you spin fenders, correct?
Yeah, we brought some fenders to kind of show you guys the different stages we go through when we build fenders, hand spinning, welding. Some other product. We brought some Invader rims that we build.
Sweet.
I don't know if Chris got some pictures off the internet or something to maybe we could show you guys how we go about building rims too, but we've got a full line of manufacturing that we do at our shop, so just something to
right on, man.
Yeah,
and we'll talk about that later because how you got into it and how you learned how to do it,
right? Yeah,
is a real. I mean, it's cool. I mean,
yeah, and I'm still learning.
Yeah, it's real grassroots. Yeah, we hope. No.
Cool. We'll see you guys in a bit.
All right, man. It's good to have you here, man. Did you bring Jeff his package? He's not going to talk to me now.
See me bend that back in whenever it started walking. I'm like, oh no.
Pat Patterson actually a couple of years ago had the opportunity to build a bike for Progressive Insurance that was on display at all of the Progressive International Motorcycle shows. Built a beautiful bike, and it graced the cover of Cycle Source magazine. So there you go. So we do love us some Pat Patterson.
Okay.
All right, RJ has made a loop.
There we go. So that's a pretty good design. Obviously, we need to get some body in it. Before we do, I'm going to make a copy of this so that when we go to make the other side, we end up with exactly the same dimension.
Again, cardboard is your best friend when you're metal fabricating and doing anything else because it's cheaper than steel. And it's much easier to make templates out of.
It's much more resistant to beer or water.
That's right.
Than paper.
You don't want paper. Paper crumples, paper tears. Cardboard's just a good way to do it. Again, if Chris and RJ were going to be making lots of these, if this was a part that they were going to be doing a lot, the better halves. I like all that. You girls have gotten so old. Except for you, not you.
Pat, when you make that voice and talk to young girls, it's a little creepy. And I'm just saying, this is not the political climate to be creepy with young
The judge said
as a
elementary
man.
schools. This isn't an elementary school. I'm telling you. But anyway, if they were going to do this repetitively and they wanted to make more than one set of these, they would more than likely make this out of wood, and it's called a buck, B-U-C-K when you do that. They'd make a wood buck that they could keep on a shelf, and when they needed to make another one, they could pull it down, clamp to the table, and they could pull these out several times. They're only making 2 of them, so that really wouldn't be worth the time. When you see those handmade cars, you know, all of those, they've made wooden bucks beforehand, and for me, it's a pain. I don't do anything with wood except cut it too short and set it on fire. I say that all the time. I am not a carpenter. There's not an inch of me. I can't do math, and so if I cut steel short, I just weld a little bit onto it. I take my MIG welder. I can make anything. But I was a 3D printer with a MIG welder before 3D printers were even a thought, man. I'm not a carpenter. Again, making sure that the surfaces are clean so that when he goes to weld it, everything is, you've got fresh metal, no contaminants. We've given Harley-Davidson a little bit of a hard time. It's really not their fault, and I think that guy's name is Jason that's here from the dealership. That's already here, and so if you can hear me, Jason, don't sweat, man. Nobody's mad. Hey, that guy's from Harley-Davidson too. Oh, here we go. Mike, you looking for him? No? All right, they're here.
Okay, so here's where we're at with this. We're going to get the stage switched around for Harley-Davidson while we're finishing up here, but you guys can see, like, basically all we need to do is get a little bit of motion into this, and RJ's going to start tacking it down. So I kind of believe in just feeling my way through stuff like that.
Hey, you guys can start bringing your stuff up if you want.
What are you doing?
Hey, DJ, this guy stole your haircut.
What do you mean bend it on your knee later?
I can do that too, though. I need some goo. Mark, no. I can see, I saw it in your eyes. We're not going there. This is a family show. It's rated PG-13. Which I think means something different than when I was 13, too, though, don't you think?
Back it on?
Yeah.
I mean, are the guys from Harley ready?
They're here. They got all their stuff.
Oh, okay.
They just want you off the stage now. Hey,
Well,
Jason from Harley
listen,
said
if you guys
don't
are
get off the
hanging around
stage.
with us, we'll get back up here later on today and finish
Good
this
stuff.
up, but don't go anywhere. We got a great presentation for
All right,
Harley.
thanks, guys. And that's what it's like in our garages, man. Because in a shop, you don't stop. You got to keep moving. Everything we do is on flat rate. And so if you're just standing there with your finger up your nose or in any other orifice,
You're fired.
you're fired. And if you've done it more than once, you're dead. That's money, man. That's money. So these guys from Harley-Davidson, Cleveland Harley-Davidson, are going to come up. Were you driving? Was that the problem? Oh, okay. Do you guys need a table to set stuff on?
Yeah, actually, it'd be nice.
Well, it just so happens that I have a table for you to set stuff on.
All right.
How high? Where you want this? You want this over here?
You know what? If you could drop it down actually for now.
Oh,
Gotta
right.
pull this front fairing off.
They're still there.
How you doing? I'm Dave.
Hey, Dave. Pat, welcome to Grease and Gears Garage.
All right.
I am sorry that you had trouble with the traffic, except that
Right.
I'm glad there's that many people at the show today here in
Yeah.
Cleveland. So these people have been breathy with anticipation.
It looks like it.
And so they are
What do we got over here?
This is War Pony. This is a bike that Grease and Gears Garage crew is building. We started it in Long Beach at the first IMS show, and we'll finish it in Washington, D.C. and ride it off the stage. So
do a little bit each show.
A little bit each show we build it. It's a Paco FXR frame. We're using the power plant. They make this so you can take a whole tour drivetrain and just pop it in the frame.
Yeah.
And Chris Callan from Cycle Source, his bike had been totaled, so we're rebuilding the motor and putting it in this. And we're using GSXR front end. LA
like those,
fairings gave us that fairing. And so we've just been building little by little at each show.
Yeah, one of my buddies back at the shop, he's got an FXR frame, and they're going to be doing the same thing with a twin cam.
Oh, really? Oh, very nice.
Pretty cool.
So and so it's a lot of folks have been doing that, because FXRs only came mostly with Evos. They did a little bit later. I guess they did come with a twin cam in 90.
Yeah, it was
93 or 94.
I don't know. It was that yellow one.
It was a yellow one, but anyway, most of them. So a lot of guys have started converting them to twin cam, but it's really nice. Paco's just got that frame that it just bloop right into. So anyway, that's our War Pony. Now, if I was going to buy a bike from a Harley-Davidson dealership, I would probably buy the bike that you guys have here to do. I love that bike. That's a Roadglide, black on black on black. Beautiful bike. That's really nice.
They're pretty sweet. As far as between that and Batwing style fairing, these things cut right through the wind.
Yeah, that's a Roadglide's my favorite bike. So now you're going to be. It's a beautiful bike. It's brand new, but as with everything, we can make them a little better. So what are you going to do for us today to make this just a little bit nicer than the one that we pushed up here?
All right, so here's the deal. These come with basically, the Harley's sound system, right? If you throw an amp on it, you call it a stage 1. Okay, so basically you're putting, it's a 100 watt or 100 watt channel, or 4-channel 100 watts, 25 watts per channel is what they come in stock. If you throw an amplifier on it, you call it a stage 1. Basically, you're putting 75 watts out to each channel. So it's a 300 watt amp you're putting on. Basically, if you go with stage 1 or stage 2 setup, you can retain your warranty through Harley. What we're going to do today, though, is we're putting a stage 2 system on. It's a little bit different. Once I get one of these speakers out here, I'll actually show you the difference between the stage 1 and stage 2 speaker.
All right.
There's a little bit of a price difference between the two, but with the differences I can show you, it's worth it.
Right.
I realize there's a lot of aftermarket, sound systems, stuff like that out there that are probably really nice and everything, but the deal with this is that, you're buying a brand new bike, you can retain the factory warranty and not have any issues.
Well, and these speakers, these things you're going to put in, already come with stock connectors and stuff.
Yeah,
you're not hacking up your wiring harness and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's all plug and play, the whole system.
Yeah, and that's a big deal, and that's something that's nice that Harley-Davidson and a lot of the OEMs have done, but particularly Harley-Davidson with the stereos is that they've made it so that you don't have to take it to, back in the day, guys would take their bikes to Best Buy and have a stereo put in, and those guys were having to cut and splice, and and they really didn't know anything about how much that was going to vibrate, and something comes apart. They didn't know how to put it all back together. So this is nice that it's just that easy. Is this something you think somebody could do themselves, or is this something they should let the dealer try to tackle?
Well, okay, so here's the deal. The only thing that the dealer really has to do is we have to update the system with our digital technician through Harley-Davidson.
Okay, so the computer has to be...
You have to update the software.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's something that you can't really get a hold of outside the dealership.
There you go. All right, so even if you do it yourself, you're still going to have to take it to the dealership to have them update your software.
Yeah, and there's some tricks to, as far as, when you do calibrate the system, you either have to have the system muted or leave the speakers unplugged when you do that, or else you can damage the speakers.
All right.
So
I don't know anything about that. I don't ride motorcycles with radios on them, mostly because I think I'm too poor. I just can't afford them.
Well, I just don't think that I'm cool enough.
Well, that could be. Maybe that's it. Maybe we don't love music enough.
Yeah, I'm stuck riding stuff like that.
Yeah, so am I. But the other reason is I don't know anything about all that stuff, so I'm fascinated to watch this. So where do we start? He's already started, hasn't he?
So yeah, I can actually take you through this a little bit. we're going to have to get this guy off right here. So, make sure I got my fuse.
You're doing a really good job, Jason.
Thank you. Talk a little bit about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Obviously, with this conversion, you're going from having just the 2 front speakers to adding speakers to the rear saddlebags. As you can see here, Harley-Davidson offers the saddlebag lids that are all prepared, ready to go. So what I'm doing right now is working on swapping the lids over and getting ready to get the speakers put in.
Right on. Man, this is, you guys remember when you could only get, this was customs. I still remember having guys bring their bikes to the shop and having to cut the holes in the saddlebag tops and figure out how to fiberglass in
Everything here.
the speaker houses. Man, it's come a long way. But they also have, when you go to movies, they're talkies now. You just don't have to read everything. So I knew that was something that you were impressed with. How long does a typical installation take?
Usually around 6 hours for one person.
All right. Well, we're going to become close friends today.
So here's what I've kind of done, though, is I've kind of run the wiring already. So
okay.
Basically, when you do this job, you got to pull the gas tank up. You run the wiring. If you want it nice, like if, factory, you run everything through all the housings down to underneath the seat. And basically, it's nice and clean that way. So I've already gone ahead and I've run all the wiring. So we're not going to be pulling the gas tank today. But a few other things we're going to tear apart here.
I like the way that sounds. I like tearing things apart. My favorite tools in the garage are the hammer and the cutoff wheel.
Yep.
If I'm not using those two, I'm not a happy man. I got to use those every day. So.
I use those quite a bit myself. I like running TIG welders, stuff like that.
Anything that makes sparks is cool. I like sparks.
All right, so
now you're going to replace these saddlebag lids. Is there a market for the old lids? I got to believe there are.
Absolutely. I expect that there's plenty of people that get all kinds of boot scuffs and,
yeah,
things happen. So I'm sure you could easily sell these on one of the online marketplaces.
That's paint, man.
Yeah.
What you doing? Golly, you guys. That's what happens in my shop. Somebody nicks the paint. It's like, came that way. Came that way from Harley.
This is one of the nice things about the new style saddlebags from the 14 and later bikes is the switching over these saddlebags. It's so much easier than it used to be. Less parts. It's a lot quicker, easier job than it once was.
That was the most miserable design that anybody could have come up with for Harley-Davidson saddlebag latches that they used forever. Remember those? You pull them up and you gotta.
Oh, we're talking the 80s?
Not design. Yeah, well, you have to pull them up and shake them. And before they went with this lever just a few years ago, I think it was like 2016 or something. Man, I hated those things. I would go get police bags that had the knobs on top. And I was like, that's it. I've had it. I've had it with trying to get in and out of those bags.
Yep.
Oh, you know.
Because I got a 2011 Road King in the shop right now. It's got those old bags on it, and I'm like, God help me if I have to get one more thing out of those bags.
Yeah.
You can't get beers out of them when you're going down.
And from the, switching stuff over point, the tech point,
yeah,
you just about have to be an octopus to hold everything in place. And try to get it to go where you want it to go.
I tell you, over the years, I have had a lot of guys that will order aftermarket latches for those. Yeah. They'll take theirs all apart. I made a ton of money putting them back together for people that are like, I don't know, I can't, how, why. So this is simple.
Yeah, as you can see, you take the lever off, a few, the faceplate, and then everything, 4 bolts, it just pops right out. Makes it so much better.
Just want to throw it on the ground? You're fine. Hey,
that's really nice. Now, Dave, what do you have to do to get that fairing off?
Well, you know, we take a couple screws out and just pull it off. It's a really interesting process here. That
does that still on the new models? Does that still have the? No, it doesn't. They've done away with that. I didn't like that either. That's nice. You remember the ones that have the rubber that go around the edge of the fairing? And so when you take the fairing apart and put it back together, that never goes back on right?
These are so much nicer.
Yeah.
Even, 13 earlier Roadglides. They've definitely made them a little bit easier for technicians working on them.
I don't get a lot of new bikes in my shop. I guess because they're all under warranty, so they take them back to the dealer. But honestly, I like riding a bagger, but I don't work on a lot of baggers either, though. So because most of these get installed at the dealership, I'm assuming, but do these still come with instructions?
Yes, sir. They come with everything you need to know. Sometimes it depends. That's the thing about this kit. What we're doing right now with the Stage 2 on the Roadglide is just the front speakers and saddlebag speakers. The great thing about the availability, you can go up to 8 speakers on a bike. You can put them in the lower fairings. If you have a tour pack, you can have the tour pack. It's a lot of amps, but
wow.
But you're up to a combined 1,200. It's
and there's a sticker that comes with it. Remember this, I'll read it. It says, too much weight in saddlebags can cause loss of control. Death or serious injury could occur, so don't put more than 15 pounds in your saddlebags. I was just telling somebody earlier my knee hurts because it's not rated for the weight that it's carrying. So I either got to upgrade the knees or decrease the weight.
Forgot to put that.
I think it's going to be easier just to get new knees later.
When they talk a little bit, a little time.
Yeah, whatever.
So here's a little something we got with these Stage 1 and Stage 2 speakers. So basically with the Stage 2 system, you got to run 1 amp per 2 speakers. Okay? So like, let's say for example, this bike right here, if we had, let's say we had an Ultra, right, and you've already got the pods on the tour pack, you can run an amp up front and power all 4 speakers off of 1 amp, right? And essentially it's a 300 watt amp, so you send 75 watts to each speaker.
Okay.
Right? So with the Stage 2 system, each speaker is actually, it's 2 speakers basically, and it takes 150 watts per speaker.
So it's got like a woofer and a tweeter?
Yes. So
you know the guy that sat around and came up with those names for this was just waiting for somebody to have to say it out loud on a microphone. Woofer and tweeter, right?
all right, so basically what we have here is we have a separate woofer. Okay, so when we get these speakers out, I'll show you, they have it's a full range speaker. Okay, so it's picking up the low frequencies, the mid frequencies, and then you do have a little tweeter up there, but basically this speaker, the woofer portion right here, okay, he's going to get 75 watts, right, of low end frequency. And then you have a separate mid-range, and he's going to get 75 watts to this speaker in addition to the tweeter. So that's basically what they've done. Now, you think, okay, you got 75 watts going to this speaker versus this speaker. What's the difference? The big difference is in the sound quality. You're not sharing the mid-frequencies with the woofer. So it's kind of like a crossover type of situation. You get to pan all the low-end frequencies of the woofer and all the mid-range frequencies to the actual mid. So I know they're a little bit more, but there is a difference. When we're in the shop, you know, we kind of crank them, listen to different music, and see how they actually sound. And you do hear a difference between the two. So as far as sound quality, you know, if you've got a bike like this, like a Roadglide or Street Glide version, the Stage 2 is probably the way to go. You don't want to put the money into putting saddlebag lids and stuff like that. So as far as just amplifying the stock Stage 1 speakers with an amp or going the Stage 2 route with a separate woofer, I would definitely go this route.
And what does the system that you're upgrading this to, what does this run cost-wise?
Oh, well, as far as that goes, I don't know if I have all those numbers on me. I work real hard in the back room.
So it's
You know what I'm
someplace between 0 and more.
Yeah, 0 and more.
Okay, that's good.
That's a good range.
It's a price range.
One of the things that makes this whole system different than a lot of the aftermarket systems is typically with the aftermarket stuff, you would put the amp between the radio and the speaker, and you can have a little bit of distortion and things like that. These are programmed together to cut the amp out of the radio and take over, so it gives you a more crisp, clear
So
sound.
typically the amp in the radio would be interfering with the amp that you would then put between the radio and the speakers. Is that what you're saying? Is that what causes the interference?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you reprogram it,
So this
it
is-
just kills the one in the radio.
Yeah, this is taking the pure sound from the radio and amplifying.
Gotcha. Smelling what he's cooking, you see me figuring it out, paying attention, keeping up. This is like science for me. It's very, very difficult. This is a whole different world. And again, we're doing a Stage 2 boom audio install. Okay? So if you just joined us or just kind of breezing by, we got guys from Cleveland Harley-Davidson here doing is it Cleveland Harley-Davidson or Rubber City?
It's Rubber City Harley-Davidson. I'm from Adventure Harley-Davidson.
Okay. And they're doing a audio install for us on this brand new bike, and they already had pre-wired a little bit. Are there any bikes that Harley sells that this comes stock on? Do the CVOs just automatically come with the boom?
Fuck.
I should get my brother on the phone. He's a finance manager in Florida at
There you go.
Gainesville Harley-Davidson. I just get him on the phone.
Yeah, some of the CVOs do have upgraded the audio systems. There have been some years where the Street Glides came with more than even 2 sets. So
I tried to work at a Harley-Davidson dealership in Georgia one time. I made it 2 months. Didn't
2
work
months,
out so
huh?
well. Yeah, it didn't work out so well. Now, they wanted me to be a salesman. They wanted me to work up on the sales floor, so I was like, I'll try it. And then they wanted me to be a tech in the back, but I don't have all the paperwork. Then they wanted me to, it was Gene Evans in Noonan, Georgia. He wanted me to, what else did he want me to? Oh, he wanted to start being able to work on shovel heads. So he was going to have me work on shovel heads in the back. And I saw that as a disaster coming. I do that at my shop, so I know what a pain it is. But I was like, man, dealerships are not set up to deal with shovel head customers.
right.
It's a whole different beast.
Yeah, I like a good shovel head.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing quite like that sound of a potato shovel, that's for sure. Here in a little bit, 4:30, we're going to have Pat Patterson. Lead Sled Custom's going to come up. He's out of Dayton, Ohio. He's going to be showing us how he spins fenders, what that fender manufacturing process looks like from raw steel all the way up to finished fender. So he's going to be doing that. He's going to be talking a little bit to us about his Invader wheels that he produces and that kind of stuff. But right now we are doing a Stage 2 boom audio upgrade on a brand new Roadglide that I'm just drooling over. I like black on black on black because it hides oil. You never have to wash it. But these new bikes don't leak oil.
No, they've come a long way.
So I guess I could get a white one now. I paint everything black. I'm like Henry Ford. You can paint it any color you want, as long as when it comes out, it's black. That's it. Wow, that is so much easier to swap that lid out than it would have been on the older style ones. So now this is going to end up 8 speakers, right? Is that where we're going?
This will be 4.
Yes. Yeah. 2. Well, it's 4 speaker system.
It's a trick question.
But the front ones have 3 in each one.
It's considered
1 speaker,
yes.
3 parts.
Yeah.
It's math. Oh, nobody threw me a pass, Jackie. Jackie, tell me what you got going on at Flo's Chop Shop.
Hey, folks. If you're just joining us now, we're in the middle of this awesome presentation, this stereo upgrade up here from our folks at Grease and Gears Garage, powered by Cycle Source Magazine. But here in the rest of the Progressive Parlor, we still have all sorts of awesome stuff going on over here all day long. We've got the Flo's Chop Shop back there up and running. Free barbershop services for everybody here at the booth. We're also signing folks up for free.
Come apart yet, so.
Hold on, let me change my batteries.
A lot nicer.
Yeah, it is coming along. She's like the Energizer Bunny. She needs more batteries.
I know. I need more juice, I think.
You all right, Mark? Hey, Mark. You're looking good down there. You're doing real good. Hey, how am I in time? Hey, Mark, what time am I done? What time are we done with this? That's going to be important later.
Hey, Pat.
You're back.
Sorry, it's all the interference from all the wireless up here. Anyway, just want to let you all know that here at the Progressive Parlor, we still are rocking and rolling. Flo's Chop Shop in the back of our booth over here, still hooking you up. Absolutely free barbershop services going on back there for everybody here at the Big Bike Show. Free beard trim, free neckline cleanup, compliments of Shed Barbershop, based out of Austin, Texas. We also have our resident mechanic Daniel back there. If you've got any questions about how to maintain your ride, head on back there and pick Daniel's brain. He would love to chat with you. We have free airbrush tattoos, brand new this year, going on up here in the sidecar. Free airbrush tattoos. We are also signing folks up and giving away that beautiful BMW in the middle of our display. And when you get signed up for any of those awesome services or to win that bike, I'm going to throw in a free t-shirt just because I can. So come on in, folks. The fun ain't over quite yet. We're in the middle of a super fun rock and roll day here at Progressive Motorcycle Insurance.
We back on?
You're back on, baby.
Sweet. All right, guys. So basically, I'll show you. See these boxes right here? All right. So these boxes are one of the upgrades that Harley did with the this new infotainment system. Basically, it turns it into a speaker box. So you get a little bit more sound, a little bit more bass response, stuff like that, versus the old style where the speakers are just basically underneath the fairing, and the whole fairing kind of operates as somewhat of an enclosure. But these are pretty cool. It's a pretty nice system. I don't think we're going to be able to fire it up for you guys to listen to it, but basically, Stage 2 system. These back speakers are kind of what I was talking about earlier, and it's the same type of deal. You got a subwoofer, completely separate from the mid-range and the tweeter. This speaker ends up getting a full 150 watts. So you throw an amp in the saddlebag, you're going to fire it up, and you're going to send 150 watts to each speaker. Where's the original speaker? Did you pull that out?
Well, there is no original speaker.
The saddlebag? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He was looking for the original speaker out of the saddlebag.
I was gonna pull one of these out, but some of the older style speakers actually have like it's like a stage one where the woofer itself has it's called a pull mount type speaker. And so basically when you look into that, pull mounted speaker doesn't have the range of movement that a separate woofer would have. So if you could just picture any type of speaker, how it moves in and out, like I was saying, that woofer is completely separate of any type of mounted tweeter or mid-range speaker. So.
Okay. So basically, because we're running out of a little bit of time here, and we were just talking about that, the next part of this process is you're going to pull these pods off.
Yes.
Then you pull the speakers out.
Yep. It's pretty simple, actually. The pods come off. The speaker has 4 screws that holds it in. Pull it out. You unplug it. You plug the new one in. And all the wiring for the Stage 2 system is right here. I got it tucked away up in here, but it's got all the speaker connectors and the whole deal that hooks into it from the amplifier.
So, again, a lot of the stuff we do here on Grease and Gears Garage, we say, hey, you want to customize your bike, we show you metal shaping and that kind of stuff. This is a little more intensive, I feel. This is something that I probably would, I would do it at my shop, but if I didn't have a shop, I probably would let a shop handle this. I'd let a dealer handle it, particularly because you're going to have to get, again, your computer flashed in order to make sure that everything works correctly.
And people get a little nervous when it comes to pulling that outer fairing off and taking a look at all this. That can be a little bit intense.
And in my experience, I don't know about you guys, it's always easier to take something apart than to put it back together. For some reason, it's like, well, all I got to do is that backwards, and it's never quite that simple. But I tell you what we'll do is we'll try to work you guys in while we got other things going on the stage so that later we can crank this thing up. So when you hear some loud music, I actually have, my brother is down at Gainesville, Harley-Davidson in Florida, and I was like, is there really a big difference between these stereo systems? Because I'm not a stereo guy. There's a huge difference between these stereo systems. It really is.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We'll get that up and going. But guys, thanks for being with Grease and Gears Garage right now. We appreciate it, Dave and Jason. Appreciate it. Thanks for being with us. And we'll get this thing tightened up in a little bit so that you can come back and hear it. So have a good time. Progressive's got a lot more cool stuff for you. And we'll be back in a couple hours with Pat Patterson, Lead Sled Garage.
Thanks.
Well, put your hands together, everybody. Grease and Gears Garage doing a heck of